It was a dangerous city. The kind of city with rain-soaked streets, flickering neon signs, and alleyways that smelled like regret and discounted seafood. Midnight sat heavy between the buildings, and every window looked like it was minding someone else's business. Streetlights buzzed, tires hissed on wet asphalt, a lone saxophone played under a broken awning, and was repeatedly interrupted by passing umbrellas. Even the shadows looked both ways before crossing the street. Police headquarters stood downtown like a concrete apology. 12 floors of paperwork, bad coffee, and chairs that had given up. Inside, the bullpen roared like an untrained engine. Phones rang without hope. Printers jammed with confidence. A vending machine committed seafood. This was home to Lieutenant Frank Hardcase, badge carrier, rule bender, and documented enemy of correct procedure. A man with nerves of steel, instincts of bronze, and paperwork filed in crayon, color-coded by emotion. Frank didn't believe in luck, he believed in evidence. Unfortunately, evidence had filed a restraining order. Tonight's trouble began at police headquarters, 3rd floor, desk cluster C, the part of the building where the lights flicker, the ceiling leaks with confidence, and the coffee tastes like witness protection. Frank received the message at his desk, a metal rectangle held together by bolts, hope, and a sandwich from last Thursday. The bullpen around him was in full panic rehearsal, phones ringing, keyboards clacking, one officer arguing with a chair and losing. A ceiling fan rotated like it was reconsidering its career choices. The message arrived the traditional way, slid across his desk by an intern who disappeared immediately afterward and was never promoted again. Cheap paper, crooked letters, urgent tone, spelled wrong with authority. The envelope was stamped, re-stamped, and aggressively overstamped, like it had traveled through several countries and at least one washing machine. Ink smeared slightly, either from rain or dramatic effect. The threat mentioned a gala, a glittering charity event held at the Grand Imperial Pavilion, a glass and marble monument to donated money and unpaid taxes. Frank read it twice, once with his eyes, once with suspicion. Both times it made less sense. Around him, the squad room continued its natural behavior. A printer screaming, a siren testing itself indoors, and someone microwaving fish with criminal intent. That's when Frank knew this was serious, because nobody microwaves fish during a slow day. The note said, "The bluff is coming," which was strange. Bluffs usually stay where they are and mind their elevation. Down in forensics, machines blinked, beeped, and contributed nothing. Scientists in protective gear examined the paper like it might confess if stared at long enough. Their conclusion was immediate and useless. The note was written by someone who writes notes. The suspect list grew quickly. Politicians, rivals, ex-spouses, magicians, and anyone who had ever said, "You'll regret this," with punctuation. Every suspect had a motive. Every motive had a loophole. And every loophole had validation parking. Then she entered the gala floor, through rotating glass doors that rotated emotionally. The ballroom stretched wide under crystal chandeliers, with a dance floor polished to a legal hazard. Mystery in her eyes, danger in her posture, and a slow-motion fan blowing from a direction not approved by physics. She moved like a classified document, controlled, important, and likely to cause problems if leaked. Security at the event was tight. Metal detectors, velvet ropes, and guards trained to detect beverages over 3 ounces. So tight it forgot to check anything important. Frank went undercover, wearing a tuxedo, dress shoes, and his badge pinned directly to his forehead like a patriotic mistake. Subtlety followed at a safe distance. The mayor worked the room, shaking hands, kissing babies, and signing things that should never be signed without a lawyer and a flashlight. His smile had layers, some of them removable. The trail led away from the ballroom, through the catering corridor, past nervous waiters, aggressive desserts, and a chocolate fountain with boundary issues. Into the alley behind the pavilion, narrow, wet, and decorated with boxes that once contained hope. The suspect ran. Frank pursued. Several unrelated objects were arrested for suspicious standing. The final location was Bluff Point, a cliffside overlook above the river, where the city skyline reflected in the water like it was checking itself out. Fireworks rigs lined the railings, wires everywhere, labels that said "evil" in helpful handwriting. The wind was strong, the tension stronger. The safety inspector had wisely stayed home. The truth came out there, under floodlights and poor decision-making. Disguises fell away, mustaches resigned, confessions overshared. Then the fireworks launched, loudly, proudly, and in the wrong direction. So did Frank. He flew through the night sky over the river, past the skyline, and briefly into restricted airspace. He descended through a wedding cake, a chocolate fountain, and a brass band in the key of panic. The villain was caught, the crowd was safe, and several pastries paid the ultimate price. Back at headquarters, the medal ceremony took place in Conference Room B, between the broken copier and the motivational poster that had given up. Frank received a medal and a wall attachment. Another case closed. Several doors walked into. In this city, crime doesn't sleep, but it should consider a nap. Because as long as Frank Hardcase is on duty, justice will be served. Not correctly, but served.